Good afternoon, dear friends. We are the mentors for the today's session. Myself, Nisha.
And Shratha.
Yes, dear students, we welcome to you all on today's session on BoS For Your Success. You know that yesterday also, we have come up with our class on the paper 2, corporate and other laws. We have covered up important concepts related to the company law. And in today's session, we shall be discussing chapter 8, 9, and 10 of the corporate laws. You know, dear friends, that these chapters form the special, or you can say important part of your syllabus, not from the examination perspective, but also from the academics point of view. That means when you go into the practical side, when you will go at the professional front in the further future, you will be finding these topics are of immense importance. So these topics are of great importance, not only from that point of view only, but also while scoring good marks in the examination. Since if you will be seeing that yesterday also in our class, we have come across with the blueprint among with you students. There we have just discussed about that these chapters 8, 9 and 10 of the corporate laws shares the spatial, you can see that the skill wise and as well as section wise weightage, means how much marks questions are being asked from these topics, as well what nature of the questions are being asked from these topics. So with this now we would like to start with our session, and we assure that definitely you are going to gain from this session to the maximum. And in fact we are trying to polish your knowledge. Again, I'm emphasizing on this word. We are trying to polishing your skill of learning so that you can uh, good and achieve good marks, and you can increase your performance. So with this we would like to start today's session.
Hello, students. A very good afternoon. We have been receiving a lot of queries from the students with respect to
Disconnected.
the skill-wise and section-wise weightage that is given in the blueprint. And some students are still telling us that yesterday the voice was not there when ma'am was discussing about the skill-wise and section-wise weightage. So before starting with chapter 8, 9 and 10, we will be taking you through the skill-wise and section-wise weightage.
In fact, student, law is very interesting subject. I must say that. The only thing is that you need to develop the interest in reading and understanding of the law. You will be finding that law is to be read like a story, because you will be finding that sections are interrelated. If you are reading any of the chapter, whether you may pick up the declaration of the dividend one, which is chapter 8 of your syllabus, you must be seeing a stepwise the provision has been laid down. Ki how the declaration will be made, what are the sources, plus what are the funds from which the declaration can be made, and what is the procedure. And you can also be seeing if there's a failure on the part of the company to declare the dividend, then what shall be the, you can say, consequences, or what shall be the result for such a failure, how much penalty will levied, and who are going to be liable for such a that, who all the officers or the companies. So you have to read any law in order just to understand and to retain what the law is giving here with respect to any particular of the topic or the subject.
So this skill-wise and section-wise weightage that you can see on your screen, first let us understand what's the importance of this. It means this is a range, like we know that the paper 2 corporate and other laws is of 100 marks. It is further divided into two parts. One is corporate laws, which is for 60 marks, and one is other laws, which is for 40 marks. So total combined it's for 100 marks. But as you know, the paper comes, there is a choice that is being given to you. So generally, the paper that you get is of more than 100 marks, and it is approximately 110 to 117 to 19. So why we are saying approximately? Because it is on the institute's will that what kind of choice may be given to you. You know, question 1 is compulsory, and out of question number 2, 3, 4 and 5, you have to attempt any 3 questions. Okay, so the skill wise and section wise weightage that you can see right now, part 1 company law 60 marks is divided into 3 portions. One is section 1, which comprises of chapter 1, 2, 3 and 4. These chapters are given to you as per the study material. Then the next section is, then the next section is section 2, which comprises of chapter number 5, 6 and 7. And section 3 comprises of chapter 8, 9 and 10, which we will be discussing today. Now, what is the importance of the weightage that is given? If you can see the second column, it says section wise weightage. So the first section comprises of this section, chapter 1 to 4, it's 25 to 40%, and the section 2 is 25 to 35%, and section 3 is 35 to 40%. I will be discussing with you this section 3 today, and there is one more thing. If you see in column number 4 and 5, we have given you level 1 and 2. What does that mean? Level 1 is comprehension and knowledge. Comprehension and knowledge are, if you can say, direct theoretical question. Like, what is the definition of financial year?
Yes, and they can generally test by using the nomenclature sometimes, like explain, identify, or they can say state,
describe,
yes,
enumerate. These are some of the terminologies that can be used while asking a question related to knowledge and comprehension.
And that means, Shraddha, it means that students should understand it is directly based on the provisions.
Yes. So they will knowledge and comprehension. What do you know and how you can directly present it on the paper. It necessarily does not mean that you have to analyze the provision and then give the answer. That brings us to the second level, which is analysis and application. So, and as I said, analysis and application. You know a legal provision, it is in your mind. You see the facts of the question, you analyze the situation with the help of the legal provision, and you apply the legal provision. Analyze, apply, and then you give the conclusion. So that makes us analysis and application. At intermediate level, for part 1, the comprehension and knowledge part of the paper will be for 40 to 55%, and application and analysis will be for approximately 45 to 60%. What does that mean? Is it these are not watertight compartments. See, we have given you a range, and this is on the basis of the past year papers. They are flexible. However, more or less, they will be somewhere near to this. It is not necessary it has to be stick to it, but there will be somewhere near to this, and it's a range. So we can understand that similarly for part 2 also, you can see this. It is also divided into 4 sections. The first section is related to Contract Act. The second is related to the Negotiable Instruments Act 1881. The third section is related to the Journal Clauses Act 1897. And the fourth section is related to interpretation of statutes. So if you see, similarly, application and analysis basis and knowledge and comprehension is given with respect to these also. Okay, so going further, let's start with our chapter, and through the chapter, I will be explaining you how you have to analyze, how you can interpret what do we mean by section 3 of part 1, and how you can use it for application and analysis and comprehension, how you can interpret this skill and section wise grid. So chapter 8 of our part 1, that is declaration and payment of dividend, deals with section 123 to 127. If you see here, we have written that section 3 of part 1, that is corporate laws, is dealing with chapter 8, 9 and 10. Totally the combined effect is they are having is 35 to 40%. What does that mean? Like part 1 company law is for 60 marks. So out of those 60 marks, 35 to 40% has been assigned to chapter 8, 9 and 10 combinedly. So suppose some students can say, ma'am, in this attempt we did not get any question from the chapter of dividend. It is quite possible because there is a combined weightage that has been given to these three chapters. So if we divide 60 marks into 35 to 40%, it will come, the range will be around 21 marks to 24 marks. So 21 marks to 24 marks of paper will be coming from, or rather I should say, may come from this section. So what does that mean? Can it vary it? Yes, it can vary it. However, this is a suggestive pattern that is being given to you. And when we say 21 to 24 marks, it is both of knowledge and comprehension and application and analysis based question. So similarly, you can calculate that knowledge and comprehension portion will range from these section 3, 9 to 12 marks, and application and analysis question will be ranging from 10 to 14 marks. Apart from that, students, there is one more important thing that you need to understand, that this is comprising of both MCQs as well as the descriptive portion. Hope so now you can understand that what is the importance of this skill-wise and section-wise weightage. So moving on further with our chapter, we can say that what we all know what dividend is. So as the section defines, section 2 clause 35 defines that dividend includes interim dividend. And when is the dividend declared? The dividend is declared in the journal meeting. How do they approve the dividend? It is first of all recommended by the board of directors. So the dividend that is declared in the journal meeting cannot exceed the amount that has been recommended by the board of directors. On what value the dividend is declared? It is declared in proportion to the nominal value or face value of the shares. And what do we mean by shares? They can be preference shares or equity shares that is being decided by the board of directors. So as I told you that there are only few sections, section 123 to 127, along with the rules that deals with the provision related to declaration and payment of dividend. So now we have said that dividend is to be declared. What are the sources through which dividend can be declared? So what are the sources through which the dividend can be declared? The Act prescribes that there are three sources from which the dividend can be declared. Number one source, if we are saying that we have to declare dividend for a particular financial year, then the current year profits have to be utilized for it. So the first source is current year profit. The second source is out of the profits of the company for any previous financial years. And the third source is, suppose the company doesn't have any of these sources or there are other reasons, then the third source is money provided by the central government or the state government for the payment of the dividend of a company. But why they will say, why the government will provide? It will be in pursuance of a guarantee given by that government. So there are three sources. And when we are providing dividend out of the current year profits, then in that current year profit, we have to make adjustment for the depreciation in accordance with the Schedule 2. Similarly, when we have to provide dividend out of profits of previous year, then that also is to be provided after making adjustment for the depreciation, and that has remained the amount that has remained undistributed. What does that in simple words mean? It is that the credit balance in your profit and loss account and free reserves. Please note, students, that for declaration and payment of dividend, only free reserves can be used. And if the company wants, then they can have a combination of current year profits and past year profits. So now we see that we know the sources of dividend. Apart from that, we have said one line that they can be paid or declared out of only free reserves. So is it mandatory for the company to transfer some amount to reserves? The point is, a company may declare dividend, and before declaration of dividend for a financial year, a company may transfer such percentage of profits for that financial year. Note the words, learn it right now. As it may consider appropriate. This is the only keywords in this. As it may consider appropriate. First is profits for that financial year as it may consider appropriate to the reserves of the company. So in simple words, the company before declaration of dividend for any financial year may transfer such percentage of profits as it may consider appropriate, as it may deem fit before to the reserves of the company. Thus, it means that it is not necessary for the company to mandatorily transfer some amount to the reserves before declaration of dividend. Now, we know that the sources, what are the sources of dividend? We also know about the reserves. Now, dividend has been declared. And this dividend can be including your interim dividend, because wherever we are using the term dividend, it is the similar provisions are also applicable for interim dividend. So the company has declared the dividend. Now can it keep the amount of dividend with itself? No, the answer is no. Why? In order to protect the interest of the shareholders, the company is bound that it has to deposit the amount of dividend in a scheduled bank in a separate bank account within 5 days from the date of declaration of the dividend. So what is the time limit? 5 days from the date of declaration of dividend. So now we know the major provisions with relate to dividend, how they are deposited also. So ma'am, we have been discussing again and again that it can be declared out of current year profits and from past year profits. So is there anything with related to why we are saying about the past year profits?
Sometimes it happens that companies, that sometimes happen that due to inadequacy or absence of the profit in any financial year, we may use the accumulated profits which have been earned in the previous years for declaration of the dividend. But of course, that amount which is to be used, that accumulated profits, is to be transferred by the company to the reserve funds, free reserves, sorry, in the free reserves, so that from that free reserve that a dividend may be declared. So, as far as already Shraddha has dealt with the important portion of the declaration of the dividend, and you must be seeing, looking at the past year's papers, many times the questions has been asked with respect to the procedure from what, in the sense from what sources the dividend can be made. Many times it has been asked, so you should understand these concepts very minutely. What are all the sources from where the dividend can be made by the company? Further, sometimes they have asked questions with respect to transfer of this reserve, transfer of a fund to the reserves also, because as Shraddha has already told you that it is not mandatory for them to transfer some amount, but as it may deem fit, it may transfer any portion of its profits to the reserves as it may deem fit. Okay, and this further she has also tell you in what way further this deposited amount of dividend shall be preserved, how it will be transferred to different separate account, so that in order to safeguard the interest of the stakeholders or the shareholders, and within the time period, because in order to test your understanding whether you understand the provision or the procedure or not, they simply frame a situation, and in line with that situation within the provided information, they test your understanding ki how dividend is being declared. So you should know the concept very deeply, because these are the important aspect and the important portions of this particular topics. Now moving to the next parts of where in case there is an inadequate or no profit, then how the dividend can be declared by the company. If you see this provision, the law specifically, it says that where any company may propose to declare dividend in the case of inadequacy or absence of profit in any financial year, they can do it out of the accumulated profits. Remember that out of the accumulated profits which has been earned by it in previous years and has been transferred by the company to the free reserves. Okay, and what is free reserves? It has already been defined under section 2, clause 43 of the definition section of the Companies Act, where it says that reserves which as per latest audited balance sheet of the company are available for distribution of dividends. It is clearly specified that these free reserves will be used for the distribution of dividend. So this should be taken care of, and you should understand, because sometimes they give it different kinds of the funds and all that and reserves, and then they ask from which, or how they will be testing in order that the fund has been distributed from the reserve fund. They test in that manner and they give certain other kinds of the surplus of funds and this account from where they ask you whether it has been validly done or not. So you should know this thing also. Further, this declaration of dividend shall be made in accordance with as per Rule 3 of the company's declaration and payment of dividend rules 2014. Okay, here when there were the questions comes on the basis of this inadequate profit, how the dividend can be declared by a company, then you have to refer section 123 read with Rule 3. It's okay, sometimes you're not able to remember what this rule number, it may be possible. Then at that time, you can simply write the nomenclature of the rule, the main heading of the rule, that is the company's declaration and payment of dividend rules 2014. Simply by mentioning that, you can further lay down your provision. So if you see, this provision enumerates three types of the conditions, and only when these three conditions, all the three conditions in fact are fulfilled, then only the company will be able to declare the dividend in this situation of inadequacy or insufficient of profit. The first condition, if you see, it is with respect to rate of dividend to be declared shall not exceed average of the rate at which dividend was declared by the company in the immediately three preceding financial year. They have specified the limit. How much limit can be declared? So they have said that rate of dividend to be declared, it shall not be exceeded. What from what? What is the limit? From the average of the rate at which dividend was declared by the company in the immediately three preceding financial year. So you have to draw the average of the three preceding financial year, the rate at which dividend was declared at that time. You have to draw first that thing. Further, you need to see when the amount is being drawn. Okay, this rate has been declared, then you have to see that how much amount you need to be drawn from the accumulated profits. Rate declared, okay, now how much amount to be drawn, now this is to be decided. So it also prescribes the limit, how much amount can be drawn from the accumulated profits. So it specifies that the amount to be drawn shall not exceed 1/10 of its paid up share capital plus free reserves. Okay, and this paid up share capital and free reserves will be as per the latest audited financial statement. This is the amount that can be drawn, the limit specified 10%. It will be not exceeding. Okay, that means up till 10% you can say, or 1/10 of its paid up share capital. After once the amount that can be drawn is decided, then it's to be seen that first that drawn amount which has been drawn out of this calculation should be first utilized to be set of losses which has been incurred in the financial year in which dividend is declared. The first you have to adjust the losses, whatever has taken place in that year in which the dividend is declared. And after that, you have to check the balances that has been left in the reserve after such withdrawal. The limit has also been specified for this, that balances should not be reduced with the specified limit that is not below 15% of his paid up share capital. And that should be also as per latest audited financial statement. So once all these three conditions are fulfilled, then only the company, in the case of inadequate profit or insufficient profit, can declare the dividend. If any of the condition is being violated, the company will not declare the dividend. It will be a violation, in fact, as per Rule 3 of the Companies Act 2013. If now you are conversant with how the dividend can be declared, now the thing is how the payment of dividend is to be made.
I would like to tell students one thing, because ma'am, students are again asking from where we are teaching. So students, if you have the study material with you, you can actually see from where we are teaching, because all this is given in the study material. Apart from that, if you see, we will be using the diagrams also. So ma'am, I'm sorry for interrupting, but if please open the study material and you will see the diagrams that we are using.
In fact, the study material has come out very well. If you will see particularly the corporate laws chapter, particularly the chapters that we are teaching right now, they have come out very well. They are containing many examples and have come out in a very easy and lucid manner. In fact, if you open the study material, you will be finding that many diagrams, many examples, and in a simplified manner, the provisions has been given for your easy understanding. So this is what we request from you students. Kindly open up your study material just to understand whatever we are just speaking before you. We just want that you should understand, and we are trying to just brief you the important points in that particular provision. Many things are there, many things has been contained over there. You have to read everything, but yes, as already yesterday also in our sessions we have told you that you need to read and understand certain key lines or key words are there that you need to retain, that you need to understand. The crux of that particular provision lies in particular in those lines only. So you need to read the provisions, what provision says, and according to that you should also get whatever we are telling to you, just to make it simplified and the important things, so that you can easily understand the legal
And
provision.
what ma'am will be teaching you now, so just open page number 8.16 of the study material and flip through the pages. You will see that how we are teaching you. I have it in my hand. I'm still reading and referring it. So apart from that, before we start with the next chapters, we are getting many queries from the students that for the capsule, they were not able to refer in the mobile app. There is only this other laws portion. So for the chapter 9 and 10, refer the, it will not be in terms of capsule currently, because it is this issue, September 2022 issue of the student journal. So the capsule for corporate and other laws, chapter 9 and 10 will be available in the form of a capsule in your student's journal, September 2022 issue. So ma'am, please.
Yeah. So shall we first take up the queries, or let me continue this?
Ma'am, please continue. We can take up.
Okay, then I was talking about the payment of the dividend, how the payment is made with respect to the dividend. If you see, as already said, open the page number 8.16. There we have come up with a diagram for your easy understanding. There we have classified. If you see in the provision, it is given in a language or proper sentences, proper paragraph is there. But for sake of convenience, we have come out with the proper, flow chart types to understand that. So what we have given, how the payment of dividend can be made. First, it can be made payable in. In means either in cash, either it can be made in cash or in the form of a check. So they can be made either in cash or through check or through warrant or in any electronic mode. Okay. Then how payable to? It is payable in this form, and payable to whom? It will be payable to the shareholders, those who are registered in the register of members, then to his order or to his banker. Okay. Then With respect to the Nidhi companies specifically, I'm talking about Nidhi companies. It says that if the dividend is not claimed by Nidhi company within 30 days from the date of declaration of dividend, there in that case, any dividend payable in cash may be credited to the account of the member. So this is how the mode of payment takes place in the Nidhi company. While in rest of the case, already just told you, refer the study material and already elaborated you the mode of payment of dividend. Now next thing, there are certain prohibition which has been marked on the declaration of dividend by the company. So if you see here, to what this section specifies that where a company fails to comply with the provision of section 73 and section 74 of the Companies Act, there in such case, the company will not declare the dividend until and unless the failure continues. So what is that with respect to the contravention or the defaulting companies talking about respect to which section? Section 73. This deals with the prohibition of the acceptance of deposit from public. In that case, if company is defaulted with respect to the compliance of this section, then in that case, the company will not declare the dividend. Similarly, with respect to 74, it specifies the repayment of deposit accepted before the commencement of this Act of 2013. If this default continues, then in such case also the company will not declare dividend. Then the next one is with respect to Section 8 companies. And yesterday we have properly dealt with this particular part that Section 8 companies will not declare dividend. Why it was so? We have taken in depth over there because these are the companies which are for the charitable purposes. And there the profit whichever is gained by the company that will be applied only in promoting their object for which it is formed. And so they cannot declare the dividend because basically dividend is the part of the profit. We just declare from the profit itself. So here we said since they are not profit making companies, so here the dividend cannot be declared in Section 8 companies.
Dhanlakshmi, we will be taking up your queries. I have seen those. Just wait for after we end this chapter, then we will be taking up your queries. So please bear with us. So next is the concept of unpaid dividend account. Now we have declared the dividend, and we have said that the dividend that is being declared, it has to be paid within 30 days from the date of declaration. We know that. What happens if it is not paid? And what are can it be lying with the company as it is? We know that once the dividend is declared, then within 5 days from the date of declaration, it has to be deposited in a separate bank account and with a scheduled bank. Now, what after that? Can it be lying like that only if somebody has not claimed it, or the company is not able to post the warrant, or if the company has not paid it to the rightful owners? So, unpaid dividend account will deal with those queries. So, the point is you can refer page number 8.18. The dividend, once it has been declared, and the company within 30 days from the date of declaration of dividend, it has to pay the dividend to the rightful owners within 30 days from the date of declaration. If the company is not able to do so, then within 7 days from the expiry of the mentioned 30 days, that is 30 days plus 7 days, then it has to deposit the unclaimed or the unpaid amount in a separate bank account. One was the 5 days wala thing. Now this is separate from that, and it is known as, and this account is known as the unpaid dividend account. Now there are further things to it. Suppose the company, even after these 7 days, this is 30 plus 7 days, it still does not transfer the amount, then what is to be done? The company has to pay an interest of 12% per annum. And from what date? The date is from the date of default. Now, this is when it has not paid. when it has not transferred the amount to the unpaid dividend account. Now, suppose the company has transferred the unpaid or unclaimed amount of dividend in this unpaid dividend account, then 90 days from that, the company has to prepare a statement with respect to what? What do we mean by the unpaid and unclaimed dividend? Definitely, it will be with respect to some shareholders which they are not able to locate, or any XYZ reasons because of which the company was not able to pay the dividend to them. So they will prepare a statement of whom? Let's think logically. It will be containing some names, the last name, address of the people, and unpaid dividend amount. Obviously, for paying the dividend, we want to know the from to whom to pay and what amount to be paid, and why it could not be paid, because there might not be we don't know the address. So name, last known address, and unpaid dividend amount. A statement is to be prepared, and this statement is to be put on website of the company and another website which is approved by the government for this purpose. Now we know that within 90 days the company has prepared this statement also. Everything is done. Can this amount be lying forever in this unpaid dividend account? The answer is no. This amount, if it keeps on lying with the company or with the scheduled bank in the unpaid dividend account, then after the expiry of 7 years, the company has to transfer the amount to IEPF. IEPF is your Investor Education Protection Fund. And what amount is to be transferred? The amount of unpaid or unclaimed dividend along with the interest. There is one more thing that you need to remember is, if a person, so earlier the person has not claimed the dividend, but now the rightful owner is there. So any person who wants to claim the amount that has been transferred in the unpaid dividend account, the person can apply to the company for the payment of this dividend to him. So these were the provisions with related in relation to the unpaid dividend account. We have been saying the rightful owners and everything. We have said the unpaid or unclaimed dividend. We are using these two words. So there can be something like the company has not paid. Okay. So there is a liability on the company also that they should pay this amount. Otherwise, they can utilize it for some other purpose also. So stringent provisions have been made in the act to ensure that the dividend is going to the rightful owners, and that too within a specified time. So punishment is there for the company as well as the directors. What is that? Once the dividend is declared, but if the dividend is not paid or the warrants are not posted within 30 days from the date of declaration, you can cross verify it with the UPA account also. So dividend is not paid or dividend warrant is not posted within 30 days from the date of declaration, then two parties can be held liable. One is your directors and the other is the company. So they have put the liability, not only the company, but they have put the liability on the directors also. So every director who is knowingly a party to the default. So word here that is very important, that he should be knowingly a party to the default. Then that director will be liable to an imprisonment for maximum of 2 years, and can also be liable for fine, which will be 1,000 per day. And how long will that continue? For the period of default during which it continues. So it will turn, right now you can say what is 1,000, but suppose it continues for n number of days, then the amount can be humongous. And the other party, one is directors, the other is the company. So company को आप imprisonment तो कर नहीं सकते, you cannot imprison a company. So the company has to pay a simple interest of 18% per annum. In this chapter, there are only two places where interest is coming. When the default is there in payment of dividend, then it is simple interest of 18% per annum, and while transferring the amount to the UPA, that is unpaid dividend account, there the rate of interest is 12%. So we have said the company did not pay or the warrant could not be posted. Sometimes situations can arise where it was not on the part, there was no default on part of the company due to which they were not able to pay the dividend. So certain exceptions have been provided, which is if the dividend could not be paid due to a reason of operation of law, due to some law, the dividend could not be paid. Or number two, the shareholders gave a direction that the dividend is to be paid in such a manner. The company tried to comply with it but could not comply with it, and this fact has been communicated to the shareholders. Number three, a dispute has arisen to whom to pay the dividend. Number fourth, the dividend has been lawfully adjusted, rightfully adjusted against any sum due to the shareholder from the company. Like there was an amount due to the from the shareholder to the company. Sorry, from the shareholder to the company. The shareholder has to pay certain amount to the company, and he was or she was not able to pay it. So now that has been rightfully adjusted against this dividend. Number fifth, like they cannot reason out everything, it will depend on the facts of the scenario. For any other reason, they have given for any other reason, the dividend could not be paid or the warrant could not be posted, and there was no default on part of the company. So this last fifth point is very general, and this will depend on the facts of the scenario. So in all these five cases, the company has been protected. With this, we can now come to some of the questions. So dear students, hope you have understood the concepts with relation to this declaration and payment of dividend. Before taking up the questions, there is Dhanlakshmi, I told you that we will be taking up your query. You have asked the meaning of the word. What does the phrase without prejudice means? Without prejudice means without harming or without being detrimental. So if a section starts with without prejudice to such and such section, suppose section 123 says without prejudice to section XYZ, that means that while we are reading this section 123, in any case it will not harm the provisions of section X, Y, and Z. So without prejudice means without harming or without being detrimental to what has been protected through the phase without prejudice. There is one more question that we are having. Would there be any question? Would there be any questions relating to IFSC? Dhanlakshmi has asked. Okay, which is given by name by way of footnote. These are given for your information. Generally, these questions are not asked with related to IFSC. However, as a general rule, what are these IFSC? These companies are made with the object, the all the exemptions that have been provided to the IFSC companies are with the object of protecting the interest of these companies, and so they don't have to comply with all the provisions of the Companies Act, and they can concentrate on the export things that they are making. So these companies are generally exempted from many of the provisions. Generally, a question is not asked. Okay. So with this, let us come to the questions. Hope you can see the screen. So this question is very easy. There is a company, YZ Medical Instruments Limited, and it wants to declare dividend at the rate. It has proposed to declare a dividend of 10% for the financial year 2021 and 22 out of profits for current year. So it's a simple question. The company has earned profit of 910 crores, and but the company does not intend to transfer any amount to the journal reserves out of the profits. If, like we told you, the simple answer is that the company is not liable to, it is not mandatory for the company to transfer certain amount of profits to the reserve before declaration of dividend. But only this line will not suffice while writing the answer in your examination. You understand the concept that the answer to this question is this much only. However, suppose the question is of 2, 3, 4 marks. In that case, how you have to present the answer? See, we have again given the provision of the act. Okay, the provision of the act is given. Then after that, we have given some facts of the question, and then we have given the conclusion. What happens is, suppose I have to write this answer. We cannot write the exact line. So I know as per section 123, the company before declaring any dividend may transfer such percentage of profits to reserves as it may deem fit or as it may consider appropriate. Okay, this is the provision of the act. Suppose it's of 2 marks, then I will directly correlate the fact with the conclusion. So I will write, as per the provision of law, it is not mandatory for a company to transfer certain percentage of profits before declaring dividend. Hence, in this case, the company can rightfully transfer. Like the question is the company allowed to do this? So the company is rightfully allowed to declare the dividend or pay the dividend without transferring any amount to the reserves. Suppose it's of 3 to 4 marks, then I will just increase the length of the answer, by writing a few more lines like it is not mandatory, and the facts of the question, I can even introduce a bit of the facts of the question. So it depends how much time I am having, what are the contents of the answer, and what are the marks allotted. Like yesterday also we said, the length of the answer will depend on your knowledge, what time do you have, and also on the marks that are allotted. The length of the answer is always in commensuration with the marks allotted to a question. The next question is, there is a company, Star Computers Limited, and it has declared dividend, but it has not paid dividend to Mr. Mohan. And what is the reason for not paying the dividend? Because Mr. Mohan has expired, and in view of the court order, there is a family dispute due to which the dividend could not be paid. So in this case, we have to quote section 127. Depends now that what are the marks. Suppose it's of 5 marks. Then I will be writing that the company has to provide dividend to within 30 days. It has to provide the dividend to the shareholders. And if it does not provide, the directors and the company are liable for punishment. However, there is an exception which says that if no default is deemed to have been committed, if the dividend could not be paid by reason of operation of law. Now, suppose it's of only 2 marks or 1 mark also, sometimes the answers are there. So I can directly quote the exception and give my conclusion. So everything is dependent on how much marks are allotted. And I use the word how much time you have. It does not mean that the paper checker will be knowing how much time do you have. It means suppose 5 marks question is there and you are running out of time, then also try to attempt that question and answer it correctly so that at least you gain some marks. Okay. Now, with this, we have come to the end of chapter 8 and we will be starting with chapter 9. Request you all to open the capsule that is provided in September 2022 edition of the Student Journal.
Even in the capsule, if you see, dear students, we have come out in a diagrammatic representation of the important concepts, and that too in a very friendly manner, that it will make you to easy understand, because this chapter, I suppose, is little bit difficult also, and certain concepts are like this which are bit difficult. For example, if it's CSR in itself a very important provision, and many times the question being asked on this particular topic, and you'll be seeing that there is a computation also, okay, how much the amount has to be spent on the CSR contribution, plus if you see if extra amount has been paid in excess, then what would the provision will come out in that case. So everything is that you not only need to have that understanding from just from that reading aspect, but you have to know how to apply the law also. Matlab you have should have the knowledge in intricacies to understand how that CSR is being applied, is made used by this concept by the corporates in today's time, because it is very important concept in today's time. So if you see in this, there is a financial statement. This is one of the most important. If you see this chapter of accounts of companies containing all the financial information related to the working of the company. So we just want, because the shareholders who have invested their funds in the company, so they are keen to know about this, the affairs of the company. So in that case, director needs to disclose about, the annual information about the working of financial position of the company, and that is where the accounts of the company is very important chapter. So with this, we would like to take the concept of this chapter 9, and please try to understand the concepts just by going through the capsule, as well as a detailed provision given in the study material. So this will definitely help you. Don't directly jump to the capsule part, because sometimes you will not be able to exactly understand what the provision is saying about. So you need to have the in-depth knowledge of that legal provision also. Just carry with yourself the study material plus the capsule, so that you can understand in an easy manner, and you can retain, and you can also come up with important lines, in particular any of the provisions that you need to retain, and that will be helping you in your preparation.
So capsule is important from the point of view of understanding and revising, but you can revise it only when you have actually studied. So there is a big smile on my face right now. The thing is, I have got the query pad I have received from 9 students. So what they are saying is that they have received the student journal just on time, and they have received the journal just on time. Some is saying, ma'am, I received it on 2 p.m. One is saying that they have received it on, ma'am, today morning. So the universe supports us in all our endeavors. If we truly want something, if we actually want something, and we are making efforts for it, believe me, the universe supports it. Sometimes what happens is the timing can be different, but you will definitely get what you want. In many of our sessions, like we have been saying this mind is very, very, very important. Whatever you think, whatever you do, the universe supports it. Whatever you are creating here will definitely fructify at some point of time. It's very necessary for you to see what are your thoughts, what do you want, what do you exactly want, and the universe knows what is the exact time when you need it. I'm not just saying, just think, and the universe will provide. You have to take actions also.
In one line, you should be clear in your thoughts what exactly you want. तो बिल्कुल अपनी सोच को क्लियर रखना है, और कहते हैं ना वो, खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि खुदा भी खुद मुझे बता तेरी रजा क्या है। मतलब व्हाट यू वांट, यू शुड बी क्लियर इन थॉट व्हाट यू एग्जैक्टली वांट, एंड यू शुड ट्राई हार्ड टू अचीव इट. So this should be there. And yes, whatever the Shraddha has said, ki yes, it's very good that already you have received today the student gender, and that will be definitely helping you a lot, and even you can make it out yourself ki yes, this is a very fruitful thing. The initiatives this is being taken by the BOS on the regular basis in the different subjects, and in that way we would like, मतलब we are very happy, and in fact I have no words to say कि मतलब अच्छा हो रहा है कि at the right time आपको right change मिल गई है. So this will be definitely of great help to you.
So in like we have deviated from the session, but right now you will be hearing a lot about law of attraction, this and that. But we have been, if we look from our childhood, your childhood, we have been seeing our parents are saying, "Beta, अच्छा सोचो, अच्छा होगा." हम सबके पेरेंट्स ने at some point of time we have been told to think right, think smart, think right. अच्छा सोचो, अच्छा करो. And when we say, uh, in Gita also it is said, कर्म किए जा फल की इच्छा मत कर. It doesn't mean, it is like just don't get attached to the results. You will definitely get what you want at the right time. Sometimes the right time is not according to, I might think I have to get it just now, but the God may have decided that you have to get it after 2 hours or sometime, but it will be the right time for you. So just stay focused, stay calm, and while you are studying any subject, study it not from the examination point of view. If you read it from this point, okay, मुझे तो exam pass करना है, I have to clear the exam. You have to, but think and feel, I am already a chartered accountant. Who is reading it? There should not be overconfidence, but have the feeling of being a CA. Have the feeling of being a professional. Thus, books will start talking to you. The words in the books will start talking to you, and you can feel it. And then, when you put your efforts, the result will be much, much, much better than what it had been earlier. Just we wanted to tell you this. So, going on with the chapter 9, the first thing that we know is financial statements. Yesterday, we dealt with the definition of financial statements in section 2, clause 40. So, what does that mean? It includes balance sheet, profit and loss account, and in case of a company not for profit, income and expenditure account, the cash flow statement, the statement of equity of changes if it's applicable, any explanatory note annexed to the four things before. And there are certain exceptions to the financial. There is one exception that in case of a small company, OPC, dormant company, and a private company, which is a startup, the financial statement may not include cash flow. Does it mean that they cannot include cash flow? No, the word used is may. So, next, why we are preparing? We all know that we want to know what are the profits, and we have to show it to our shareholders also that what we have done throughout the year. The financial statement shall give a fair and true view of the affairs of the company. Then the financial statements have to comply with the applicable accounting standards and be in the form as provided for different classes of companies in Schedule 3. Suppose we have said that the financial statements have to comply with the accounting standards. Suppose the company is not able to follow certain accounting standards, then in that case, the company has to give the reasons for such deviation along with what is the effect of these. What kind of effect? The financial effect that is to be disclosed by the company. Then, how this is to be presented? We say that the laying of financial statement, where it is to be laid, the company has to lay the financial statements, and by company with me mean the board of directors has to lay these financial statements at each AGM. And why we are saying each AGM? AGM means annual general meeting. So there the shareholders will be there and these financial statements will be shown or presented to the shareholders at the AGM, and that because they are prepared, financial statements are prepared for a financial year, so at each AGM. Suppose the company has subsidiaries. So in that case, if the company has subsidiaries or joint ventures, then CFS, consolidated financial statements, are also to be laid at the AGM. Then financial statements, we have read that what all is included in the financial statements. We have to maintain these books of accounts, and what the company has to prepare, they have to prepare the books of accounts, books and papers, and the financial statements. There should be a place where all these books should be kept. They should be kept at the registered office or any other place in India which the board of directors may decide. Can someone see these books of accounts? Yes, they are open for inspection by directors. Then these books of accounts are to be preserved for 8 years. And if they are not preserved properly, or if there is a default on part of the company in complying with the provisions related to maintenance of books of account, then the company is liable for a fine of 50,000 to 5 lakh rupees. Now the company has made all these books of accounts and financial statements. Can the company, like once they have prepared, can they open it? The answer is no. The answer is no. However, a company is allowed to open its financial statements or recast its open its books of accounts or recast its financial statements in certain cases. What are those certain cases? If an application is made by central government, SEBI, income tax authority, any other regulatory authority, or any other body. So the power has been given to big shots, like central government is there, SEBI is there, income tax authority is there, and other regulatory body or any other person has been defined. So the application for recasting or reopening of the accounts is being made by these five people, and the application is made to whom? The application is to be made to the court or tribunal. And if they feel fine, then the court or tribunal can pass an order. What order they can pass? That they can open the accounts. But what are the, can SEBI say like that only that they want to open the accounts? There should be some grounds due to which the books of account or the financial statement can be reopened or recast. There are two grounds, because the tribunal should also feel that okay, it is necessary. What are those two grounds? Those two grounds are: earlier accounts were prepared in fraudulent manner, or affairs of the companies were mismanaged. So these two grounds are necessary. Either of these two grounds are there. So the tribunal can then tell the company to open the accounts. So a note, then what will happen if the court or tribunal feels so? A notice will be served to the applicants. Applicants, the five people which we have told, to take represents into consideration if any, and then an order can be passed for recasting or reopening of the accounts. Then there is one more important thing that needs to be seen. No order in respect of reopening of accounts relating to a period of earlier than 8 years immediately preceding the current financial year can be made. Okay? except, now there is another exception. The normal period is 8 years. The exception is, except on direction of central government, the books of accounts may be kept for a period of longer than 8 years, and accordingly they can be told to open the accounts of earlier than 8 years. So, this summarizes some of the important provisions related to the financial statements. We have been talking about CSR. What do we mean by CSR? Recently, the provisions with related to CSR have been amended recently within a year. So, if we see during the COVID times also, a lot of companies were talking about CSR. They were they were trying to make new vaccines, or they were doing researches with related to vaccines. Though the motive is to earn profit also, but some people are actually want to benefit the society at large. For, if I suppose a company is earning in crores and crores, but they want to benefit the people through which they have earned so much of money, so that counts for CSR. And the Companies Act have provided many provisions to protect as well as to ensure that the company fulfills its responsibilities towards the citizens. So it's corporate social responsibility.
Yes, CSR. Already the ma'am explained you what is the concept of background for enactment of this particular provision related to CSR. In fact, in India is the only country where CSR has been made mandatory. I'm telling you. And if you see CSR, so it prescribes what all are the activities that are undertaken by the company under the CSR provisions under the Companies Act. And also the Companies Act deals about, besides with the activities, who all are the companies who are liable to form the CSR committees, and besides what are the amount to be spent for this CSR activities, and who all will be the beneficiary who will take the this benefit of this CSR. So CSR, if you see, as already told, is the important concept from the examination perspective also. If you see that, as already said, company is a part of the society generally, because company gains or drives benefits from the society itself from various sources that are available in the society. That all benefits are taken by the company from the society. So in return, company has to give something to the back to the society. So company is considered as a part of the society. So it has certain duties towards it. In fact, CSR is responsiveness to stakeholders, consumers, and civil society. It undertakes certain activities of the at the certain activities that are of public interest that already been told to you. So, looking at these background, let's take up the provision. What the provision says about. If you see first question that strike, what is the meaning of CSR? This has been defined in the rules. So what CSR means? CSR means the activities undertaken by a company in pursuance of its statutory obligation. Means this has been specifically prescribed in the statute what all activities will be taken by the company. And these activities and everything related to the compliance part of the CSR by the corporates has been laid down in section 135 of the Act, to be read with CSR Policy Rules 2014. So here company deliberately includes public interest into corporate decision making. So it forms a part, and everywhere in the board's report, they have to give the details of the expenses, what sort of expenses they have made under the CSR activity. And if not made, then they have to properly mention the reason in the board report. Now, there are certain activities that have been specifically excluded from this scope of the activities that are being considered as CSR. The first activities that has been enumerated is the activities undertaken in pursuance of normal course of business of the company. Means if any activity which is taken by the company is done in the normal course of the business, that in that case that will not be considered as CSR. But however, there certain provision has been provided. They have added to this enabling students certain conditions saying that any company which is engaged in research and development activity of new vaccine, drugs, and medical devices in their normal course of business but related to COVID 19 for the financial year 2021, then 21-22 and 22 to 23 three financial year, but subject to conditions. Again, certain conditions has been marked that such research and development activities shall be carried in collaboration with any of the institutes or organizations which are mentioned under the Schedule 7th of the Act. Second condition, the detail of such activity shall be disclosed separately in the annual report on CSR. So anything which is done in the normal course of the business of the company that is not being considered as the activities to be governed under CSR, but exceptions given if anything is done as a research of development with respect to drugs or vaccine or with respect to any of the medical treatment with respect to the COVID-19, the pandemic. In that case, when such research and activity is being done in collaboration with the institute or the organization which are specifically mentioned in the Schedule 7th, then it can be considered as CSR activity. Further, such details of the activity will be separately disclosed in the annual report. So you should understand the exception portion also. That is why I have read it twice, just to bring you clarity, because the question may be asked on the basis of this, which activity, any sort of the activity will be given, and then they will ask whether this activity will be covered under the CSR or not. So you need to understand the exception part, which is to be read with the main enabling section, how it is putting a limitation on its applicability. The second activity given in this is that the activity which is undertaken by the company outside India, okay, except for the training of Indian sports personnel. Means any activity which company is doing outside India, not doing within the India, but something outside India, will not be considered as CSR activity. But exceptions again is there. When any activity is done with respect to giving of training of Indian sport personnel, whether it may be outside India also, then such an activity of the company will be considered under the CSR. The next activity is the activity the activities benefiting employees of the company under the Code of Aegis 2019. If some benefit is provided to the employee as per the Code of the Wages 2019, that will not be considered as CSR activity. Please take a note. Sometimes it may be given as per that regulation, certain benefit that has been given by the company to their employees or their families, that will not be considered as CSR activity. Similarly, if any contribution of amount is directly or indirectly made to any political party, that is also out of the purview of the CSR activity. The next point is the activities supported by the company on sponsorship basis. If some sort of the activity is there by which some sponsorship is there, then that activities which is supported by the company on that basis of sponsorship will not be considered as CSR activity. The next is the activity which is carried out for fulfillment of any other statutory obligation under any law in India. Means where in any law specifically if something is there that the particular company or the body for which that particular act has been enacted is being bound to fulfill some sort of obligation, then if that activity is carried by that organization, then that activity will not be considered as CSR activity. So something the activities you can say which is voluntarily taken by the companies, okay, for the benefit of the public at large, that should be taken care of, not under the statutory obligation. Then this was the that I explained to you is the meaning as well as the certain activities which are being covered under the company under the CSR and certain activities which are out of the scope of this activities from the CSR. Now the second important thing under the CSR which companies are required to constitute CSR committee. Okay. So if you see the provision 135 talks about the requirements when a company can constitute CSR committee. It specifies that every company shall constitute a CSR committee of the board having net worth of rupees 500 crore or more, or turnover of rupees 1000 crore or more, or net profit of rupees 5 crore or more during the immediately preceding financial year. So let's take the acronyms to understand what are the things and what are the requirements. NTN. N, the first thing is the net worth. Value prescribed is 5000 crore or more. Okay, then second is the turnover, which is prescribed 1000 or more, and then net profit prescribed is rupees 5 crore or more. If this all has been complied with, the requirement has been fulfilled by the company, then such company shall means mandatory, it is required mandatorily to constitute a CSR committee of the board.
So if you have a problem with remembering this, so NTN 5, then 5, then into 1000 is the second point. Into 200 second point, and if you do half of that, then 500. These are all multiple of 5.
Even you can remember one more thing that I could make it 515. Take it that way.
Yes.
5 means 500, 1000, and then just simply the 5.
Yes, it is much easier. Like I was telling about 5, then into 200 and into 100, and it is much easier 515. So you can use many things to remember and write, but in the examination you have to write the full lines.
Yes. Now this was the requirement for constitution of the CSR committee. Now next, the CSR committee will be comprising of whom? Who all will be the member of this CSR committee? So again, the section further says that 3 or more director, out of which at least one director shall be an independent director. So how many members are there? 3 or more directors, and out of which one shall be at least independent director. Then it further says that provision is there to this particular provision, stating that where a company is not required to appoint an independent director under section 149(4), because 149(4) subsection 4 prescribes certain exceptions to which companies do not require to appoint the independent director. So in that case, if the company is not required to appoint any independent director, then in that case it shall have CSR committee comprising of 2 or more directors. Okay, this is the comprising of the CSR committee. Then next is the duties of the CSR committee. Now CSR is constituted. Now what is role, function and duty? So you should understand what is the duty of CSR. So first duty of the CSR is to formulate and recommend to the board a CSR policy. First of all, it will formulate a policy and then recommend to the board the policy, which will be indicating the activities that are to be taken by the companies, or specifying the particular areas or the subjects that are being enumerated under Schedule 7th of the Companies Act. The first duty of CSR committee is this one. Second for this duty is to recommend the amount of expenditure to be incurred on the activities. Okay, so they will recommend how much amount is to be spent for this CSR activities. Third duty is to monitor the CSR policy of the company from time to time, whether they are spending their amount in the right direction, whether the amount that is spent is the right direction, and whether they are fulfilling and complying with the conditions and for the activities that has been enumerated in the CSR policy. So they will monitor the functioning of the CSR activities and the functioning as regulated by the CSR policy.
If you see everything, you need not mug up everything. Like in this also, if you see, if we are having any committee, think of any committee, or if you have to handle a committee with respect to CSR, what will be? You have to think formulate the policy and recommend to the respective people. Now you have recommended the policy. Now, what is the next step? Recommend the amount that should be spent. Is your work finished? No. Then what is the next thing? You have to monitor that the policy is followed and the amount is spent. This is the way when we say there are various ways to remember a thing.
And every time you are saying it as a linkage. First step, something is to be formulated or suggested or proposed. Then natural, one thing is proposed, then the other things requirement, what you all activities or what are the things that you have to do there, the roles and everything. And third will be whether you are performing your duties or not.
Yes.
That is to be verified or cross-checked. So this is where you can remember, you does not require to just mug up, this is what already has been said. So take care and learn in that way only, just making the interconnection of one and the other aspect of the provisions. Now moving to the next part of the CSR is the amount of contribution toward the SR. This is important because the questions generally come from the amount of contribution towards the CSR. So if you see, the board shall ensure that the company spends in every financial year at least 2% of the average net profits of the companies during the 3 immediately preceding financial year. At least, catch this word at least. At least means minimum, kam se kam, at least 2% of the what? Average net profits, kiska? Of the company during the 3 immediately preceding financial year. समझ गए आप? I'm just explaining in Hindi also, just for sake of convenience of the other medium of the students. आपको ये देखना है कि कंपनी का पिछले 3 इमीडिएटली प्रीसीडिंग फाइनेंशियल ईयर का आपको एवरेज नेट प्रॉफिट्स निकालना है, उसका 2% आपको अमाउंट स्पेंड करना है CSR पर. Okay. Next, where the company has not completed the period of 3 years since its own corporation, suppose only 2 years has been passed, 3 साल नहीं हुए हैं.
So,
since in that case what will happen, because this may be the situation, so you should also assume from that point of view. In one situation already the company is has been established and has been time has been spent more than 3 years, but in certain cases there are companies which has been recently incorporated. In that case, what you will do, the contribution will be at least 2% during such immediately preceding financial year as per its CSR policy. यहाँ पे कहीं भी immediately 3 preceding year वाली बात नहीं है, यहाँ पे सीधा कहता है directly, it says 2% during such immediately preceding financial year. Okay. Now in its report it shall specify the reason for not spending the amount. Reason भी देने का, suppose if it's not spended any CSR amount, then they need to mention the reason. And where the unspent amount relates to an ongoing project, suppose some project is ongoing and the unspent amount is related to that particular ongoing project, in that case, transfer such unspent amount to a fund specified in Schedule 7. आपको बताना पड़ेगा वहां कि आपका एक फंड का एक अलग से एक फंड बनाया जाता है, फॉर दिस CSR फंड के नाम से जाना जाता है. वहां पे क्या होता है, दे just transfer the unspent amount in that particular fund. Where the company spends an amount, suppose in excess. एक केस हमने देखा कि जहां पे he is not spended any amount, और जहां पे स्पेंड करने के बाद क्या हुआ कि आपका नहीं स्पेंड करने के बाद अनस्पेंड अमाउंट का क्या हुआ. And now the other situation is when company spend an amount in excess of the requirement. So such company may set off such excess amount against the requirement to spend for such number of succeeding financial year in the manner as may be prescribed. Means that may be given in the rules ki how you can set off the excess amount against the requirement of spending the CSR amount for succeeding financial year.
That how you will set off. So
Yes.
one is that you have to mention the reason for not spending, and if you are setting it off, so we have given the provisions with related to set off also.
And this set off is applicable in case of excess. Then only you are adjusting.
Yes, obvious.
Okay, so this is how you can contribute towards the CSR amount. Now, next is where we have said where the amount has not been spent. Then that unspent CSR is transferred to the fund enumerated under the Schedule 7th. Now, how the transfer of unspent CSR amount is to be done to the special account. So here the procedure has been laid down that any amount which is remaining unspent as per to any of the ongoing project undertaken by the company under the CSR policy, it shall be transferred within a period of 30 days from the end of the financial year. As the financial year ended, within that, after that 30 days will be calculated, and that amount should be calculated within that prescribed 30 days time period to a special account to be opened by the company for that particular purpose for that financial year, and in any scheduled bank to be called as unspent CSR account. Okay. And such amount shall be spent by the company in pursuance of its obligation towards the CSR policy within a period of 3 financial year from the date of such transfer. Please take a note of this period time. Okay, within how much time of this transfer he has to utilize that fund, that is the period of 3 financial years. And failing which, if suppose that unspent amount is not used within that 3 financial year, the company shall transfer the same to the fund specified in Schedule 7th within a period of 30 days from the date of completion of the 3rd financial year. So whole process is given how the transfer of unspent CSR amount will be transferred to the special account. It has prescribed the proper time within how much time it has to be spent, and if it remains unfailed to utilize that unspent amount within the provided time period, then how it will be transferred to the fund to a special account which is being specified under Schedule 7th. So then next point that needs to be taken care here with respect to CSR is why it is not necessary to constitute it is mandatory for the company if it fulfills the requirement already that we have mentioned, but there are certain conditions where it is not necessary to constitute CSR committee. So these conditions should also be known to you. So where the amount to be spent by company does not exceed 50 lakh rupees. Just remember the limit 50 lakh, not exceed. That means it should not be more than 50 lakh rupees. In such case, the requirement of the constitution of CSR committee shall not be applicable, and the function of such committee in such cases be discharged by the board of directors. If no CSR committee, then who shall be taking care of this function? It will be the BOD.
So, if you see the provisions related to CSR, everything is ranging in multiples of 5. And if you see this also, when it is not necessary, then also it's 50. So, a tip for you, you can remember.
Yes, and these definitely helps in the examination time, because if you remember these small things, then definitely you will be just writing the right figure and the value, and you will be writing the correct answer, which is being expected at certain level, because the values to be mentioned rightly, because these are the requirements of the sections. So please take care and try to remember in whatever the possible way you can. So we would like to take a break of just 2 to 3 minutes, and we will be back at it's just now 4:11, so we will be back at around 4:13 or 4:14. So till that time, please take a rest, have a glass of water, and we will be right back after 2 to 3 minutes. you all have taken a glass of water and just be relaxed. और इसी उम्मीद के साथ कि थोड़ा बहुत आप लोग फ्रेश भी हो गए होंगे, तो हम इसके साथ मूव ऑन करते हैं. लेट्स go forward with the session. But before that, one query that we have received, a student has asked how to read and learn the interpretation of statutes. The student name is Abhishek. Yes, Abhishek has asked how to prepare for the interpretation of statutes. Abhishek, then I would say that kindly refer our recorded lecture on the said topic, because the expert faculty has taken this session and has completed this whole topic within a limited time period, and you will be finding it is a very fruitful lecture because with many examples and just making easily understandable the principles of the interpretations of statutes. There are certain principles which are being needed in light with that how you can interpret the law. So this is, and what are all the aids that is being required to read and understand the languages that is being used in the act, and what all the terminologies means. So you should see that lecture, and that lecture is very you can say has been taken by the expert teacher in a very simple manner, so that you'll be definitely gaining with that lecture. Kindly go with that recorded lecture taken by our subject expert, and it's already there on our this LVC BOS classes. You can go on the BOS mobile app, there also it is available. So let us show you that where these all things are available with you.
And since even after telling you that where everything is available, please if you have some doubt with respect to how to access the website and everything, refer the LVC lecture introductory session. It will help you how to access the website. And you can, people are not knowing from where to refer the journal, and they're asking us that about the notes. We are simply referring the notes that we have, or rather I can say for especially for chapter 9 and 10, we are using just the capsule. So since the student have asked these questions again and again, you go to the ICI.org, go to the students portal. In that, go to BOS knowledge portal. Click here to visit the BOS knowledge portal, and if you see here, it's a revamped version of our website. Everything is available. What is this? So people were asking about students journal. So student journal is available here. See what we are doing. This is for final level and for intermediate level of this subject. And in every student journal, there will be some chapters from the intermediate level of one or the other subject. So here is for corporate and other laws. Apart from this, I will also like to tell you. Okay, so okay. The study material is also, you're asking from where we were referring. Many of the things we are referring directly from a study material which have been taken as diagrams, and the diagrams are as per our interpretation, but you cannot be like that. You don't have to add anything. Whenever you are reading a diagram or any mnemonics, just think from the point of view that it's given in crisp, but you have to read the exact lines, and it helps you to understand and recall the provision. And apart from that, students portal. Okay, the mobile app that we have, it contains your LVC lectures also. See, here is the, I cannot click it. LVC lecture, you have to select the course. Like for you, it will be intermediate, and your registration number, which you have, and then you can log in. So simply you can make use of this. This is the website version. And with respect to the mobile app, it is available directly under the heading of recorded lectures and live classes. So what do they mean by recorded lectures? Like suppose a lecture has, like for corporate and other laws, the lecture is already done, and if you still want to see them, then you have to go under the heading of recorded lectures.
These are the facilities which are available at any time. You can avail it. मतलब these are the some that sort of the facilities.
See,
anytime, everywhere. मतलब
skill
every
wise
time you
and
can
section
see it.
wise weightages है.
Yes, everything is there on the website at one place. You does not require to go on different places, but everything is at one place for your convenient. You can see the headings are given, subject headings are given for your references. Whatever you are required, simply click on that particular heading. With respect to the particular level, you can kindly go and find it at your place.
See, I'm just helping you to know that everything is there on the website. It's just not that we are saying it, but we know things are there and you can actually see everything. And the revamped version is very easy because once you click, you see everything is there on the website with you. So now moving on further with the session, student journal, this and
one question is being asked by Tejaswini, is everything on study material only? Yes, students, we are teaching from the study material only. Whatever the provisions are being covered over there, we are just only dealing with that particular provisions. In fact, some provisions which we feel like, yes, that you can easily understand yourself, that we have not covered in the session. But yes, these all form the part of the study material. Please see the study material, everything is given over there. And of course, since even from the examination point of view also, you should refer the study material because it provides the scope and coverage to what extent you have to refer the content, because Companies Act is very vast, many rules, many things are there, but to what extent you have to limit your studies with respect to that particular portion. So you kindly check out with your study material.
if you see, like chapter 9 we have just dealt with. So if you see, everything is from here, everything. And we have not covered in this session the contents of board report. It's there. Then what is the director responsibility statement? It's there. And what ma'am was teaching you about the CSR, it's very much there. But when we are speaking, we definitely do add certain more things, because if we just read this, you will not be in a position to understand things. So moving on further, we have one more important concept in this. Okay.
So let me explain the concept. Okay, then one more concept is related to section 137, financial statement to be filed with the registrar. So this section states that the copies of the financial statement, including CFS, if any, plus other documents, are adopted at AGM and shall be filed with the registrar. This is what the section 137 talks about, the filing with the registrar of the financial statements. So in the AGM, when AGM is held, the copy of these documents, that is the financial statement plus CFS plus other documents to be presented, and if that document is being adopted in the AGM, then such document, financial statement related all the prescribed documents, will be filed with the registrar within 30 days of the date of AGM. This is one thing where the meeting has been held and it has all the financial statement related documents has been adopted. Then suppose if the papers, this financial statement and other related documents are unadopted in the AGM, or you can say in the adjourned AGM, then in such case, it will be filed within 30 days of the AGM and registrar will take them as provisional in their records. Okay, and after further is being adopted in the adjourned meeting, it will be filed with the registrar within 30 days of the said meeting. Hope this point is clear. Then further next thing, where the AGM is not held. This is all earlier I have talked to you about, when the AGM is held and when the financial statement and documents has been adopted in the one case and in the other case where it has not been adopted. Now where the AGM is not held, then in that case the prescribed documents plus statement of facts and the reasons for not conducting or holding of the AGM, that statement should be given why the AGM has not been held. then that all statements will be filed along with the prescribed document with the ROC within 30 days of the last date before which the AGM should have been held. Hope this is clear with respect to filing of the financial statement with the registrar.
Ma'am, if you see, it's very easy. Everything is 30 days. If AGM is held, from the date AGM is held. 30, if it is not held, from the date it should have been held. If the accounts are adopted from 30 days on which the date the AGM was held. If it is unadopted, then also 30 days, and will be considered as provisional. And in case the AGM is not held, then 30 days from the date on which it ought to be held.
मतलब ये है कि आप जब भी कोई सेक्शन पढ़ते हो, हाँ, उसमें आपको कैच करना है कि आप उसमें एक तो आपस में रिलेशन क्या है जो कॉमन हो, जो आप उसको कैच कर पाओ, या फिर इन रिलेशन विद सर्टेन थिंग हो, तो आप उस चीज को रिटेन कर सकते हो. दिस नीड्स टू बी फाइंड आउट बाय यू, बिकॉज व्हेन यू आर स्टडिंग एवरीबॉडी हैज हिज ओन एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी कि मैं इस चीज को ऐसे करूं या ऐसे करूं, या उसका एक अपना प्रोसीजर होगा, मेथड होगा. सो वन हैज टू अडॉप्ट इट्स ओन टेक्निक और द स्टाइल बेसिकली. And you have to find out whatever is convenient way for you, either finding some common things or in relation with certain things, and then you will try to retain the crux or the important point of that particular provision.
And if you see, I know the date, the time period is of 30 days, but when I was speaking, I could make out that I am speaking something different. It is because I know when I am speaking that diagram is there in my mind. So I corrected myself. Similarly, when you will be doing your examinations, it's not that we can't do anything wrong. When you have clarity in your mind, sometimes words may fail you, but the moment you realize, just correct it. So it will be actually very helpful if you read, if you try to make use of all the tips and tricks which we are giving, or any other tutor is giving, or which Vandana ma'am gave you. These things will help you, and we are sure of it.
Yes. Now there are other certain points which need to be remembered. If you see in the case of the OPC, you will be seeing in our the screen that we have shared, we have given certain points that are also relevant. First, in the case of the OPC, it is saying that it shall file a copy of the financial statement which has been duly adopted by its member along with the required documents attached with the said financial statement shall be filed within 180 days from what? From the closure of the financial year. So you should remember this time period, because sometimes a question may be framed with reference to the OPC. Within what time they need to file the financial statement when it has been duly adopted by the members. So you should understand these intricacies of any of the provision, what general provision says in a common situation with common applicability, as well as what it says with specific reference to any particular type of the company. Okay, so you need to remember this time period. Okay, the next important point is with respect to the companies where they are having the subsidiaries. Okay, in that case, what will happen? A company shall, along with its financial statement, it will file with the registrar the accounts of its subsidiaries which have been incorporated outside India. And it is not having the place of business in India. You should also be knowing that this is also the requirement, because you can see and means two things has been prescribed, that the companies which are incorporated outside India, first requirement is this, and second is that which has not established its place of business in India, that in such case the accounts of such subsidiaries companies will also be attached with the financial statement of the you can say of holding company to be filed with the registrar. Okay, and one more condition is there, in case the subsidiary has been incorporated outside India, as already said, but which is when it is not required to give it financial statement. So in that case, it has said if the holding company files that case, suppose that financial statement has not been audited, is unaudited one. In that case, the holding company's filings, if unaudited financial statement of that subsidiary company, then along with that, it has to file a declaration to this effect and where such financial statement is in other language other than English, than with the translated copy of the financial statement in English. So you should read all these points and the concept, because the question may be twisted just considering any of these points, and they may be testing you. Now moving to the next part is the question. Let's take one or two, one question only, just to make you understand. Okay, I suppose if you can see that questions are not that much very typical in this question. Generally, the questions that are being asked only is with respect to either CSR, as already I told you and already explained you, and considering the time available with us.
It's already 4:35.
Yes, so we are not taking the question over here, but what type of questions being are asked, whether it may be asked about this adoption of the financial statement in the
Recast.
AGM, yes, or recast of the financial statement, or reopening.
Internal auditor,
yes,
which
yes.
we have not discussed in this, but that is there in your capsule. Internal auditors, they ask a lot of questions. We have not revised the concept of internal auditors because it's easy and you can do it on your own also. So some questions come from this chapter also.
And you can also go with the questions what is given the study material, test your knowledge. Generally, these questions are generally based on these provision. These are covering some of the important aspects of this provision. This will help you an understanding of the legal provision and what sort of the questions are being asked, that you can easily make it out just by going through that particular practicing questions.
So till now, what we have studied was about financial statements, how they are to be maintained, books of accounts, and I told you that they are to be made because we have to see that what is the profit, and then we have to present these financial statements to the shareholders, or rather we should use the word to all the stakeholders of the company. But before these are laid in the AGM, they have to be verified in some manner. And who verifies them? We, the chartered accountants. We verify, and we are known as the auditors of the company. So, chapter 10 deals with audit and auditors. Who can be appointed as the auditor of a company? Okay. I can be appointed as an auditor, as an individual, and we, if we have a firm of chartered accountants, then we can be appointed as auditors. So, an individual or a firm of auditors can be appointed as auditor of a company. So now we know who can be appointed as auditor. Next is when he is to be appointed. Okay, there are two major provisions and it has been divided into two parts. One, provisions are with related to the first auditor of the company. First auditor means the person who will be appointed as an auditor of the company in the first year of incorporation. A company is made and an auditor has to be appointed for that financial year. And for rest of the things, we will be saying subsequent auditors. So when we are reading these provisions, there is a further bifurcation in relation to companies and relation to other government companies. So we will be using the term with relation to government company. We are keeping it as the simple section, and every company other than a government company, because the term used in the act is a company other than the government company. For the sake of convenience, we will be using the word other companies. But when you will be writing this in the examination, don't use the word other company. Use the word companies other than the government companies. Companies other than the government companies. That is the term that is used in the act. So with respect to the first auditor, we can show you this. Just a moment. See, the students who are having the capsule, they can very well make it out. See, for the sake of, we cannot click on this because we have directly opened it from the website. So we have used the word any other company, but that is not to be written in the examination. Why we are telling you this again and again? We are telling you this again and again. What happens is students, when they are referring short notes, Whatever the words that are written in the short notes, students write those words exactly, but you cannot write them. In case of government company, it's okay, but other company, what do we mean by other company? That you have to say companies other than government companies. See, can you make this diagram in your examination?
No.
No. It is for your revision, it is for your understanding, retention, and revision. But this cannot be presented in the examination. So, the first auditor, in case of another company, who can appoint the auditor? The board of directors has to appoint the auditor. In how many days? Within 30 days from the date of registration. If the company does not, suppose the company is not able to appoint the auditor, then within how many days? The board of directors then will go to the shareholders or the members of the company and they will tell, sorry, we are not able to appoint the first auditor within the specified 30 days. Then the members shall appoint the auditors within 90 days at AGM. And what is the tenure for this auditor? Because the auditor has to be appointed for specified number of days or time period. He will hold the office till the conclusion of the first AGM. Now, what will happen with respect to the government companies? Government companies, generally all the provisions of the government companies will be with relation to Controller and Auditor General of India. They will have, either the government will directly have a role or the CNAG will have a role. So in this case also, the CAG shall appoint the auditor within how many days? Here the days are 60 days from the date of registration. In both the cases, the dates are with respect to the dates of registration. Suppose CNH is not able to appoint the first auditor within the set 60 days, then if you see, it's against the same. The BOD shall appoint the auditor, and how many days? 30 days. And the BOD, if the BOD is also not able, then it will inform the members and the members will appoint the auditor, the first auditor, within how many days? Within 60 days. And what is the time period? Till the conclusion of first AGM. Okay. Now we have to appoint subsequent auditor. Who is a subsequent auditor? Subsequent auditor is a person who is appointed after the first auditor is appointed. Term of office has expired. Like in both the cases, where be it a government company or a company other than a government company, they will be holding the place till the conclusion of first AGM. So any auditor appointed after that will be known as a subsequent auditor. Here also two types are there. So in case of a company other than a government company, the subsequent auditor shall be appointed in the AGM. Okay. And for how long will he hold? This is one of the most important things. The auditor shall hold the office from the conclusion of that AGM. That AGM means in which he is appointed till the conclusion of the sixth AGM. So is he holding a place for 6 years?
No.
No. Right now, in which AGM he is appointed till the conclusion of the sixth. So 1 year, 2 year, 3, 4, 5th and 6th. 6th pay he has to vacate the office. So it's 5 years. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So he will be holding the position as auditor for 5 years. Remember this, because when you are telling about the tenure, you have to use the term from the conclusion of that AGM till the conclusion of 6th AGM, and 5 years we will be using somewhere else also. And in case of a government company, again CNAG, he will be appointed by CNAG main thing, he is appointed for a financial year. अगर for a financial year है तो obviously the tenure will be how much? If for a financial year, the tenure will be till the conclusion of AGM. So this is very important, and it has to be appointed within 180 days from the commencement of financial year. Next important concept is casual vacancy, reappointment of retiring auditor. I think we can skip this because you can very well do it. And appointment of subsequent auditor, we will like to discuss one more important aspect. Remember the word
Term of auditor.
term of auditor, because we said about 5 years. So what do we mean by term of auditor? Term of auditor is for how long he is holding the office. The auditor is holding the office, and it will also deal with the cooling period. Suppose I am the auditor of XYZ and company for the last 20 years. There is a chance of collusion because I will be too knowing about what all is the company dealing with. I will be knowing everyone. There are chances of frauds which I may overlook, and I may have a connection with everyone in the company. So I will be given a certain time period for which I will be working, and then I will be given a time period of break. What is that break? That period can be called as the cooling period. So the term of auditor, listed companies and prescribed classes of companies. What are these prescribed classes of companies? These prescribed classes of companies, because listed companies we have already said. So apart from the listed companies, unlisted public company having a paid up share capital of 10 crore or more, private companies having a paid up share capital of 50 crores or more, and companies having paid up share capital below the limit specified, like unlisted case public companies के case में 10 crores and private companies के case में 50 crores, but they have public borrowings from financial institutions or banks or public depositors of an amount of rupees 50 crores or more. These companies have to appoint or reappoint an auditor. Again, the bifurcation is there. Individual for 5 years, one term of 5 consecutive years, and with respect to audit firms, the time period increases, but it's 10 years, but those 10 years are not written like that. They are called 2 terms of 5 consecutive years. So one term of 5 consecutive years in terms of an individual, and for audit firm, 2 terms of 5 consecutive years. And there is a cooling period for in both the cases. In case of an individual, that once the individual auditor has completed a time period of 5 years, then a cooling period of 5 years from the completion of term is there. And what is that cooling period in case of an audit firm? It's 5 years from the completion of his term. And what is the time period of his completion? It is 2 terms of 5 consecutive years. So 2 terms of 5, one consecutive 5 years, then consecutive 5 years, and then there will be a cooling period of 5 years. And these provisions, like we told you, that it's for listed companies and other prescribed classes of companies. They have an exception of OPCs and small company because they are already working on a very low scale. So you don't want to burden, the act doesn't want to burden them with the requirement of audit, following the provisions related to auditors. So this was with respect to term of auditor.
Now, disqualification, this is also one of the important provision related to the auditor part. And many times the students are also tested when an auditor cannot be appointed. Generally, they ask with respect to when they are not eligible to be appointed as an auditor. So if you see certain conditions has been enumerated, so, which is laying down the conditions when an any auditor can be considered disqualified for being appointed. So the first condition that has been given is with respect to the first condition that has been given any body corporate. Okay, any body corporate will not be appointed as an auditor. Many times it happens, certain companies are there. So whether the company can be appointed as an auditor of the company, no, no body corporate. Okay, but except LLP, this has been said, if there is a firm, LLP firm, then in that case, that LLP firm can be appointed as an auditor, rest the body corporate is disqualified to be appointed as auditor. Then the officer or the employee of the company. If any person is an officer or employee of the company, then that officer or the employee cannot be appointed as an auditor by the company. If a person who is a partner or who is in the employment of an officer or employee of the company, in that case also, the such person who is a partner or you can say the employee cannot be appointed as an you can say as an auditor in the company is in any way that person is being you can say is a partner of an officer of the employee. Suppose there is a one company and that particular other person is a partner of that you can say of that company or being related to the officer or is being related to in any of the employee of the company. In that case that person will be disqualified to be appointed as an auditor of the company. Then next is the person who or his relative or a partner means who himself or his relative or a partner who is further holding any security of interest, okay, either in its company or either in its subsidiary or of its holding or associate company or a subsidiary of such company will not be appointed as an auditor. And if it's indebted to the company also or its subsidiary or holding or associate company, in that case amount as is prescribed, if it is in excess of 5 lakhs, then he will be disqualified. And if it is less than that prescribed limit, then he can of course be appointed. But if it is in excess of 5 lakhs, then in that case, that person will be or the relative or the partner will not be appointed as an auditor of the company. Then with respect to giving of a guarantee or providing any security or where such person or his relative or partner is indebted to any third person to the company or its subsidiary or holding or associate company or the subsidiary of such holding company in excess of 1 lakh, that in that case also he will be disqualified. In respect to the holding of security of interest, however, there is an exception with respect to the relative part. That if relative is holding security or interest in the company of face value not exceeding 1 lakh, then he will be eligible to be appointed. This is with respect to the relative. But if suppose that relative is holding the security or the shares in excess of this prescribed limit of 1 lakh, then in that case he will also be disqualified. So question is generally asked on this particular portion. So please take a note that this is very important part of this particular provision. When a person either he himself or along with his relative or a partner of company, when he can be disqualified to be appointed as an auditor of any company. And you have to see the relation that he is not holding the security or shares of interest in that company or either its subsidiary or its holding or associate. So you need to understand that how a relation is there and in what limit they can be said to be disqualified. So you need to remember the relation and the limits prescribed or given in this particular section. The next point of disqualification is that a person or a firm who directly or indirectly has business relationship with the company, subsidiary or its holding or associate company or subsidiary such holding company or associate company. In that case, if is having any sort of the business relationship, then such person or a firm will not be eligible to be appointed as an auditor in the company. Now, what is a business relationship? That has also been defined. So just go through it in order to understand if they fall within the purview of this business when they fall within the purview of this business relationship. If they fall in this business relationship, then they are disqualified, except there are certain exceptions to that thing also. When any business relationship will not be considered for disqualification. That means under certain circumstances, they are still eligible to be appointed as an auditor. So just read the provision carefully, and the provisions in relation to the main section is to be remembered and is to be, in fact, should be clear in your mind. What are that circumstances or conditions under which they are eligible and they are not eligible.
And many examples are given
in the study material.
Study material with respect to these.
And please read the example after going to this disqualification, the provisions. Read the examples given over there. Even many questions is given in test your knowledge or in the examination, earlier examinations also. So you just read it to understand how the questions are being asked with particular and how they draw the relation, and when they fall within the purview of this particular categories, if they fall any of the class which is given over here, then when they will be disqualified, and when they are out of the purview of this section, and then at that time they will be eligible to be appointed as an auditor. Then the next condition is the person who is a relative, whose relative is a director or is in employment of the company as a director or KMP. Then in that case also that person will be disqualified. He must not be related to a director. Okay, and neither he shall be acting as a director or KMP. Then a person who is in the full-time employment elsewhere, or a person or partner of a firm holding appointment as its auditor. If such person or partner is at the date of such appointment or reappointment holding appointment as auditor of more than 20 companies. This is the limit in how many companies a person can be appointed as an auditor. So if it is holding more than a 20 companies, so this is a limit mark that is not, then it will disqualified. So you need to remember this limit also. However, there are certain exceptions when certain companies are not counted within these prescribed limit of 20 companies. They are when they are the OPC small companies or the private company with the paid up share capital less than 100 crores rupees, then they will fall under these exceptions and they will not be counted within this 20 limit of the companies for occupying the auditorship. And if suppose in case of private company, this share capital limit increases. If it is more than, if it is less than, if it is 100 crore or more, in that case, of course, in that case, he will be disqualified. He will be not counted in, he will be counted within that preview of the limit of 20 companies and he will be getting disqualified. So you should need to understand who all are exempted from this limit. So just read this provision carefully. The next is the person who has been convicted by the court for an offense involving the fraud. If any person is involved in the fraud, he will be disqualified. And the 10 years period again has not been elapsed. If it has been elapsed, then he will be eligible to be appointed. But if 10 years has not been elapsed, again we will fall within this disqualification.
हम मान के चल रहे हैं कि 10 साल में वो सुधर चुका है. So remember the period. It's 10 years.
Yes, it's 10 years.
Sometimes we speak something so that you remember it.
Yeah. So then next is the person who directly or indirectly renders any service to a section 144 of the companies or its holding or subsidiary companies. What is section 144? Just go to the provision. It talks about the prohibited services. You just go what all are the services. Now, these are the provisions, important provisions that has been related to the auditor part we have come across with. Now, let's only take one question because the time is, of course, a big issue because the time is running out. So let's take one question. Let's take the relation.
Okay, so disqualification question.
Yes.
That you will be, I'm sorry. You will be able to understand that how to apply the provision with relation to disqualification.
Yes, and I told you this is one of the important provision and frequently the questions are being asked. So let's check out with the question. Question says that you have to examine the following, who amongst in the following situation the person are eligible for being appointed as an auditor or not under as per the Companies Act 2013. Now here you can see in question number 1 it says that Mr. Prakash is a practicing chartered accountant. Okay, so he's eligible being a practicing chartered accountant. And Mr. Akash, now he's a relative of Mr. Prakash and he is holding the shares of face value 70,000. Okay, not the director, though its market value is also given. Director of ABC Limited want to appoint Mr. Prakash an auditor of the company. Now we have to find out whether Mr. Prakash is eligible or not. So as already we have discussed that an auditor, either he himself or his relative or a partner who is holding any security or interest in the company or its subsidiary, or either its holding or associate or subsidiary of such holding company, then he will be disqualified. But for the relative, a certain limit has been specified. So it says that the relative of the auditor may hold a security of interest in the company of face value not exceeding 1 lakh. If this is there, he will be eligible. So in the present case, you must be seeing that in the question also it is given that is holding the security of face value not exceeding 1 lakh. That is 70,000. Okay. So you can see it is within the provided limit and as per the requirement of the section. So therefore, Mr. Prakash will not be disqualified to be appointed as an auditor of ABC, though he is relative. But since he is falling under the exception, so he is eligible and he is eligible and therefore Mr. Prakash will not be disqualified.
Suppose here the relative was holding the shares.
Yes.
Suppose Mr. Prakash himself was holding shares of rupees 70,000. Then in that case,
He
will
himself,
be
yes, again the
disqualified.
provision, yes,
Because for relative the limit is 1 lakh, but for the auditor himself,
there's no such limit. And he himself is, if any kind of is taken the securities, then in that case he will be disqualified. This is what the section talks about, the disqualification of director. Now, one more case let us take from this question itself, that Mr. Ramesh is a practicing chartered accountant and he has been indebted to MNP Limited for rupees 6 lakhs. Now, director of NFP Limited want to appoint Mr. Ramesh an auditor of the company. Then in this case, the auditor, since here the limit has been prescribed under the disqualification, that where a person has been indebted to the company, the limit prescribed is that not exceeding 5 lakhs. Okay, and since in the question it is providing in excess of 5 lakh rupees, that is 6 lakh. And so directly we can see that Mr. Ramesh will be disqualified because its limits of in debt, whatever is taken from the company, is in excess of the provided limit, and therefore he will be disqualified to be appointed as auditor of the said company. So in this way, the questions are being tested. They test your knowledge and understanding, how clearly you have understood the section, how relation you can draw, how you can apply the law. So you need to, law is very interesting, but only the thing is that you need to have the conceptual understanding. This is very much required. And let's see the question there, Shraddha. Let's
Meghna, you have given the correct answer. And Dhanlakshmi, you are asking that Dhanlakshmi is asking can you explain transitional period? Basically what happens is, suppose a section has been made mandatory for a company from today, but it cannot be complied with within a single day. So the act provides a certain time period, suppose 6 months, 3 months, 9 months, and sometimes 5 years, 3 years, so that the company is able to change its accounts or change its structure or change its way of working within that time period. In short, that is the transition period. जिस period में company वो अपना transition करेगी. Suppose there is one more thing. If they doesn't say that you have to comply the provisions within 6 months, and they don't give any time period, there will be no foundation on the company. So they say that you have to comply such and such provision within 3 years. So the company is now mandatory. It is mandatory for the company that within a time period of 3 years, the government is expecting that you have changed or adopted to the new provisions within that time period. If you do not do what is needed by the act, you will be penalized.
Transition is changing phase. This is the changing phase actually. Because sometimes it happens, what the Shraddha has said, that government sometimes there are certain compliances which takes a time. कुछ चीज़ आपको ऐसी होती है अपनी, जैसे फाइनेंशियल, अगर हम स्टेटमेंट्स वगैरह की बात करें, फाइनेंशियल कंडीशंस की बात करें, तो वो होता है कि आपको in line with the required section sometimes you have to meet certain requirements and it takes a time and come in order with that. तो certain time period is given कि आप अपने आप को उस requirement के साथ in tune करिए, तो it gives a time to fulfill that requirement and to come up to that level or in order. So it gives a period and that is known as the transition period, that is the changing phase. तो वो transition period होता है.
Then again, there is one question by Krishna Sharma. Can you present the diagrams in exam which is given in the module? Even if they are given in the module or the capsule, they cannot be presented as it is. If you
already said na, it is just for reading and understanding. That's in for retaining certain important aspect of the provisions.
Ma'am, how to remember sections and the numeric data that is in law so that we can fetch good marks? It is a consistent practice. If we tell you to learn and mug up, you can remember some of the sections, like 123 is there, dividend, 127 is there for punishment. Then
certain sections maybe try to retain because they are important. If you talk about disqualification, you should know only 141. That's it. It doesn't require to remember the like subsection or clauses. So similarly, you should try to learn 135 CSR, 128 maintenance of place of these books of accounts. So these are certain sections you should try. Not every section. I'm not telling about every section, but the main section you should try. और जब आप try करोगे, then only you will be able to retain it. But
and there is one more thing. Instead of even learning, it is a very consistent practice. You cannot stand at this point of time and learn 100 sections. Right now, you can just try to mug up few of the sections, like 10 or something. But if you inculcate the habit from the very beginning, because there will be some students who will be attempting not the November 2022, but they are attempting later exam. Try to inculcate the habit from now on, and it will benefit you not only for your inter exam or final exam. They will be helping you throughout your life, because professionally, if you are dealing with professionals, I'm using the word professionals because sometimes the people you are dealing with, they don't know the sections. So in those, you should not use the sections. Otherwise, when you will be dealing professionally, you will be quoting the sections that according to such and such section, this was written, which is very normal.
Then Lakshmi is also pointing out that newsletter of 2019 is not up to the amendment, she's saying.
Yes, if it is of 2019, so it is not possible to have the amendments as per 2022. That was made in 2019, September, October, November 2019. So it's not amended. It must be till, I think, 30th April 2019. So we expect you to amend that, and it is very much possible. Reason being, you have the RTPs with you, and if you see, there are not much changes.
Bilkul. This is why only I have pointed out this question. This was the reason, because many students consider there is no amendment. But at a certain extent, you have to work hard. My dear students, we have given you what are the relevant amendments through the way of the RTP. Even separately, sometimes we host the significant amendments on the website. The thing is that little bit you have to work on. You have to find out that amendments and just mark it over there. Since many amendments are not there, so you can do the task, and when you do it your own, I'm telling you, you will be able to retain the amendments, and that will really be of great help to you. And this is what we are expecting. हम तो कह रहे हैं, what the intent yesterday also, we want you to be a great student, not just the just a good student, because we want that you should learn to teach yourself. This is only the main motto behind this conduct of class. BoS for your success.
Yes. Not covered everything in these sessions. It's not even possible. It would have been possible have we not explained anything to you. We would have just referred the capsules for all these chapters, and expecting that you have read everything, like we do the fast track classes, like within 5-6 hours complete everything. That can be done only when students are They have read everything.
When
they are
through with their
through with
follow
everything.
studies. Yes,
Not only studies, you have to even practice. You have practiced and you are just revising.
Even many of you students may be such who must be first time they must be picking up this.
We can get it from the
yes,
questions.
This study material. They are not knowing or they are not conversant in many of the common things also. So this is what we cannot go in such a way. And further, the law is a very dynamic subject. It keeps on changing. So every time we cannot provide so handy the latest updates. So somewhere you should inculcate, you should refer the MCA website, you should go and find yourself, okay, it's not that easy, but yes, whatever we have provided to you through the way of the RTP or something like that, please go with that amendments. So definitely that will help you to develop yourself in a truly sense a true professional.
And like intermediate, there is a gap of 9 months. But if you see the final level, there is a gap of 2.5 years. If you keep on waiting for the latest, suppose if you are giving your which examination, suppose May 2024. I'm just giving a vague example. If you're giving May 2024 examinations, and for that amendments up to 31st of October 2023 will be applicable for you. If you that means you are doing your articleship right now, would you be waiting till that time to start with your preparation? That is not possible. You have to start the preparation when you have cleared your intermediate, and at that time you will not be having the latest book. The book will be latest as of that time, but in that 2.5 years definitely things will be amended, and for that you have to refer the RTP. और even if you are thinking that I will refer the latest book, but आपके पास एक base होना चाहिए. In those 5-6 months, you cannot read every subject, be it tax, be it audit, be it law, be it GST. I'm talking about these subjects in specific because they are very dynamic in nature, and these constitutes the major amendments which are applicable for you.
Even the Harish Narayan is asking, can you give some example? What are the key points to be highlighted in the answer sheet? Look, Harish Narayan, the thing is that what are the main things that you want to bring to the notice of the paper checker? Section number, if you have cited, not in the section number, then what are the main essential of any legal provision on which your answer is meeting up the requirement of the question? So that you can point it. Sometimes you can point out the conclusion part. Yes, you want that conclusion should be read, because if conclusion is directly by reading the conclusion, sometimes it can be made out you have drawn the correct legal provision. So these things can be highlighted, so you can look into that part, the numbers or the headings. If you have given some bullet or heading, so you can mark that thing also, so that you can do it.
I have the knowledge as a student. I have the knowledge. I want the paper checker to know that yes, I know.
Yes, that I know. बस आपको वही चीज हाईलाइट करनी है.
और हमने आपको कल के सेशन में भी ये चीज बताई है कि हाउ टू प्रेजेंट द आंसर. Okay, what is the pattern or format to answer for case scenario? Tick in your OMR sheet. 4 options will be given. 4 options for a MCQ will be given. Out of that, you have to mark only one correct in the OMR sheet. Even if you feel 2 are correct, don't mark them, because that will not be checked. OMR sheet में अपने आप check होगा. So आप अगर more than 1 correct करते हो, तो it will not be marked.
Yes.
And apart from this, just उसमें pencils and all those things have to be used. Those are given in your by the examination department. Those things are given in your along with the admit card. They are given.
Even in the last question also, that Harish Narayan is asking whether there is summary available at the end of each chapter.
No. It will help if you have updated it as per what you want. Even the capsules, if you are thinking these are very good for revision, I'm again saying September 2019, like we have said September 2019, October 2019 and November 2019. If you want to refer, you have to amend them. Then for Feb 2022, there is no need of amendment. And for the September 2022, you can refer them as it is for November 2022 examination. But those are as per our understanding. If you would have seen, we are adding words to whatever is written. There is a difference in understanding things and revising things. But when you have to write those things, you have to write legible, complete English sentences. This is really, really, really important because this is one of the major reasons. There are only two reasons. One, the student is not having the conceptual clarity and that's why they are not able to answer. The other is they have the conceptual clarity but they are not able to present it in the examination. Apart from that, there is no other thing because of which the student is not able to clear these examinations.
I suppose, Shraddha, time is over.
Yes.
And let's ask end our session here only. And we are expecting that you students are definitely going to gain out of this session, because we have tried our best to just to let you know, to hone your skills, learning skills, in fact your knowledge and everything, and try to polish you a lot, and expecting that you students will be definitely driving the benefits. And with these expectations and hope, we would like to conclude our sessions and wish you all the best, and thank you.
Thank you.